We've discussed, number one, the cause of emotional disorders. Number two, the underlying problem of emotional disorders. Number three, we discussed the two distorted core beliefs. Number four, what is an emotional disorder? All right, that's kind of important, right, to establish. An emotional disorder is the naturally resultant disharmony that occurs from living with subtle misperceptions about the true nature of feelings, self, and life. So it's like a person who misunderstands the nature of traffic lights. That person driving a car, misunderstanding even subtly the nature of traffic lights, how they work, what they mean, these sorts of things, will inappropriately, even unintentionally but inappropriately, create chaos around himself or herself. And why is that? It's because this person is not working harmoniously with his or her surroundings, the laws and principles guiding everything around them. They're working contrary to it. So think about your emotional teachers. Their whole lives have been disordered because of exactly that. They live with inappropriate attitudes regarding the nature of feeling, self, and life. So everything in life has been a struggle for them. That's why they're not happy. That's why their family life, their relationships, their job relationships, everything's kind of chaotic and hard. It's because when a person misunderstands the very nature of the things that make up every, a really important aspect of every second of our lives, and you misunderstand those things, those fundamental things, it means your life is going to be in conflict with those things. It's going to show up as disorder. I don't know if you've thought about that, but when we talk about emotional disorder, we are talking about literal disorder, the opposite of order. Right? You've probably heard that term, emotional disorder. And it probably just went right over you. It's just a title, right? It's just a label. It's not just a label. It's describing literally what you're seeing. You're seeing disharmonious, that is, disorder, a disharmonious approach with life. Number 5. What is mental health? Mental illness. So we've already discussed emotional disorder. What is mental health or mental illness? Well, the professional community as a whole lies to you about this. They don't educate the public properly about this. If you're not following Russell Brand on YouTube, you're missing out. Russell Brand is one of the most intelligent people on the internet that I've discovered so far. I love hearing what he has to say. Now, here's the qualification for me to respect a person. For me to respect a person on the internet. Not that they're the smartest per se, but that they are emotionally and intellectually honest. That they are interested in emotional and intellectual honesty. So you'll notice that a person like that is not dogmatic about very many things, because they're not interested in being right. They're interested in understanding a thing for real. And then they have an open mind, and they're really curious. They explore different ideas and stuff like that, so that they can really discover a truth and settle on it. But until they reach that point, their mind is kind of open. And that's Russell Brand. He's an extremely intelligent person. And if you folks ever think that I'm intelligent, I don't think I'm particularly that, I don't think I'm a genius or anything like that. But if you admire me at times for certain insights that I have or certain intelligence that I might demonstrate. It's because I choose the things that I choose to feed myself on, and the people that I admire are people that I recognize have these qualities. So just like you may listen to this show to be around that sort of thinking or that sort of intellect, that's the type of people I search for myself too, to feed my mind on and to expose myself to, and to listen to and enjoy thoughtful discussions from. So there's him. I was going to make a list in this show of other people that I really admire, and I didn't get to make that list, but I'll tell you, Russell Brand is one of the people at the top of the list, and I'm going to tell you in a second what this all has to do with mental health and mental illness. Apparently, Russell Brand was an addict suffering from his own emotional unhealth or emotional disorder, and he's recovered or in recovery. I guess he considers himself in recovery from substance abuse. Anyway, I saw a video earlier today on Rumble. Russell Brand was talking about he had just gotten a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and he started talking about all the lessons that he has learned from studying jiu-jitsu. For my audience, that video would be very good. I would recommend it for sure. But in that video, he talked about mental health and mental illness. He talked about his mental health, and there's a thing that he's got wrong. So although I can really draw on Russell Brand, a lot of things Russell Brand says, and gain a lot of insights from just listening to him talk, he's so insightful. There are some things that he's still educated wrong about as far as emotional health goes. You might be a person like this, confusing emotional health for mental health, right? Because the professional community does not help in this regard. What is mental health or mental illness, and what is the difference between that and emotional health or emotional disorder? Well, listen closely. This is what mental health or mental illness is. When you're talking, anytime anybody's talking about mental health or mental illness, what they're talking about, literally, is a malfunctioning brain. That's mental health. Mental health, mental illness, is when the brain itself is malfunctioning. It refers to the functioning of your mental capacities, your brain. Borderline personality disorder and other emotional disorders are not related to mental health. They're not mental illnesses, despite the professional community's totally false and incompetent teachings otherwise. You can't reason yourself out of a mental illness, because the mental faculties themselves, the thing that you rely on to reason, is not working properly. On the other hand, an emotional disorder, do you remember what we said that is? It's simply living with misunderstandings, learned misunderstandings about the nature of feelings, self, and life. It's no different than a person being taught to read traffic lights incorrectly, and then they go out into the world and it's chaotic. That's emotional disorder. There's nothing wrong with their mental capacities. Their brain's working the way it's meant to work. They learned perfectly well. It's just that they had really lousy teachers. See, that is not an example of your brain malfunctioning. So when you hear the professional community and other people, like, even in that Russell Brand video, I won't hold it against him, because who's he learning from? He's learning from the professional community, right? So he's working with the understanding that his emotional health and his emotional disorder is mental in nature. It's not. Mental health, mental illness relates to a malfunctioning brain. You can't reason yourself out of a mental health or mental illness. That is a physical problem that requires probably medication. It might require other things. You might have a freaking brain tumor. You might need that removed. So that's the last symptom clarification on that. Orange slices are brief highlights from the Last Symptom podcast. Subscribe to full audio episodes of the show on any major podcast platforms such as Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, Amazon Music, and more. While I've got you chewing on that, like this video, pretty please. Might as well press subscribe while you're at it. I bet you a nickel you know somebody who's overdue for hearing some of these things, so go on, forward this video to them.